Gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I'm Babyface P. Today, we're going to do a quick cut and thread, a chop and thread. This is a pipe for a, probably looks pretty familiar to a lot of you guys. We're going to chop it down to 16 inches, thread it out half 28, send it back to the customer. So I'll show you guys how I do a chop and thread here. May not be the most appropriate way, may not be the best way, it may not be the way that you would do it, but this is how I do it. I'll show you guys what we come up with. Bring you in. Let's chop this down. It's chopping and threading. Ain't no pretty job, but it's pretty good. Let's do it. All right. Never mind the crazy mess that we got going on over here. I haven't been in the mood to clean the garage, so. The bench is a disaster, but it will get cleaned. Don't worry, it will eventually get cleaned. So this is currently an 18-inch pipe. We're gonna chop this pipe down to 16, and then thread it out half 28. Half 28, we're gonna thread it half 28 based on 22 LR. The half 28 22 LR is a slight different spec to the 223556. So let me get a tape measure so we can mark this thing out and get it started. Be right back. All right, time for the bone saw. Hope I'm not too much in the way for you guys. Yeah, this is pretty much just the simplest way to do this. And the crown, a lot of you probably are going, oh no, the crown. When we get this on the lathe, we will square the edge off. That's why I do a little bit extra. That gives me some room to play with. We'll square it off and thread it, and then I'll redo the crown. I'll do like a nice 45 on the crown just to make sure that it's purty. Here we go, 16 inch, well, 16 and like a quarter. And I know it's rough, this whole area here is rough, that's why we leave, we probably have about that much over 16. So that gives me a lot of area to clean this up nicely. So let's go get it chucked up in the lathe. I'll start cleaning it up and show you the lathe work. The lathe work is the most fun part. This is the worst part. Let's move over to the lathe. So, as you can see, we have no audio. I forgot to turn the mic on again. Last time I make that mistake because I'm buying a microphone with no battery. I'm so sick of forgetting this. So what you can see we're doing here, so we're centering up that the barrel to the bore. Now, this one I'm actually going to center off of the barrel itself on the outside. Ruger barrels are pretty good. They hold bore concentricity pretty well to the outside. They do very good machining over at Ruger. So I'm going to center it up to the outer diameter of the barrel, make sure that's centered. Now, a problem here is Ruger barrels are tapered. The factory 1022 barrels are tapered. So if you don't have a tapered vice jaw, you can run into issues if you bump into that end of the barrel too quickly, which throws it off center. There's ways around that. You can run a spider on the back of the headstock. You can run it across centers. For me, I'm just going to take light cuts so I don't throw it out of center. And that will be my answer to it. So, warp speed 5, engage. Brush our chips off. And we'll move in and make our cuts. We're just going to lightly touch the front end. Make sure everything is perfectly square. I know you guys can't see a whole lot here, but we'll make sure everything's squared up. Then we'll come in at the end and cut the crown. We'll cut the crown. Make sure the crown is nice and clean at about a 45 degree. And then we're going to move the barrel out across, I would say across centers. We're going to have a live center on one side, and we're going to turn it with the chuck on the other side. And then from there, we're going to thread it out. Let's move on to that.
All right, Future Patrick with you guys again. So you can see we centered the barrel in the back. We have it in the live center on the front, so that is perfectly centered on the bore. So what we're going to do here is measure out the front of the barrel to see what we're at and how much meat we need to take off. It needs to be 500 thou. I think we're at like 575 thou. So we're going to have to take a little bit off. We'll calculate it out and bring it down to 500 thou. Remember, half 28 is ½ inch on the front, ½ inch outer diameter, 500 thou. So, other thing to note here, this is a 22 LR barrel, so we're cutting it for the 22 LR, not the 5.56 spec. 22 LR is 400 thousandths back to the shoulder, where 5.56 223 spec is 600 thou back to the shoulder. So you can see there where I'm pointing about 600 thou, where up forward is about 400 thou. We're going to do this at 22 LR spec, which is 400 thou, a little bit shorter. So we're going to go ahead and grab some Dykem, run some Dykem through on this thing, get it blued up and ready to go, and then we'll start cutting chips. All right, layout fluid is being applied. Got my shoulder in the way. There we go. We're going to grab our calipers, set it to 400 thousandths, zeroed it out, set it to 400 thou, lock it in place. And we're going to go ahead and scribe off on the piece. You guys can't see, basically you're just scratching off into the Dykem. Hopefully my shoulder isn't in the way the rest of the video. So that is the line. You can see that line we have there. That is the shoulder that we have to go back to. That's 400 thou back. So we will cut 2 ½ inch diameter back to that 400 thou. All right, next thing to show up here. Super important if you're going to be chopping threads. You need a, you can do it without this, but a quick change gearbox makes everything real handy. So let's take a look at this one. We're going to be doing 28 TPI, so half 28. So we need to have that top part into that slot there. That's 28 TPI. And then across, if you look, it says you put it into section D. You guys can't see it, it's just off camera. If you go backwards, A, B, C, D, it is in section D. So that is set up like we have it, 28 TPI.
The last thing we gotta do real quick is run an undercut for the threads to fall into. Run this in. Alright, undercut's been made. It sounded terrible. It will work. Let's go in and run our scratch pass. Touch off, back out, and start the scratch. Alright, now let's prep. Slowed down, we're ready to run our scratch pass. When this runs around, we'll clamp the half nuts and run our first pass. We'll check it before we move on. After you're going to scratch, always check your work. Grab your gauge, line it up. And those fall in perfectly to 28 TPI. So we're now at ½ inch OD, 28 TPI. We just keep going until we get the correct inner diameter for the thread. We'll check it with a suppressor and see how it fits, and then go from there. This is a long and tedious process because I do take my time on this. We'll speed it up a little. We'll go another 3 thou. You can see it's following the same path perfectly. That's what I love to see. And the best test of all, we finished out the threads. Run my suppressor on to make sure it fits. And see the threads don't have a whole lot of wobble. And when we get to that nice shoulder in the back, you'll get a nice dead stop. Suppressor doesn't move, everything looks good. Nice, hard, firm stop on that shoulder, which is what we want. So, last but not least, this barrel is filthy. We're going to clean it off. I'm going to take the Dykem off so it doesn't look ugly with that Dykem. Then we're going to spin it up high speed, take some Scotch-Brite to it and some oil, make sure it's nice and buffed so it looks good, and it'll be out the door to a customer. Main thing here, remember, if you want this done with your pipe, as long as there's no receiver attached, I can take it and do it. No, not a problem. Pretty easy stuff. So, all right, let me get cleaning on it real quick. Look at that barrel shine. A little bit of hoppies. Watch your fingers so you don't get them caught. A little bit of hoppies and the Scotch-Brite brings the shine right back to the stainless barrel. Look at that. Pick a beauty. Make sure it looks good on the outside. Don't have any marks anywhere. Some Ruger markings. I go over it one more time just to be safe, but that looks much, much better. It had a nice thin coat of rust on it for some reason. One more time. There we go. And that's it for this. Make sure it's nice and dry and it looks good. Always watch your fingers. Open palm when you're working next to the chuck. You don't want to get your fingers caught. If the rag gets caught, not a big deal. It'll just yank it out of your hand. You always want to be careful. Always mindful of where your fingers are. Look at that. Nice. Beautiful. Scotch-Brite does a wonderful thing, especially when you're spinning. Scotch-Brite is awesome. Beautiful finish. Nice half 28 thread. It's already been tested here if you want to see this. Fits perfect. Threading looks good. That's it. That's a threaded barrel. This is going to get packaged up, return label put on it, and shipped back to the customer. Yes, I said customer, guys. Not in business. I'm not in business. No, that's not what I'm doing. I am helping out fellow enthusiasts out there who want to get projects like this done. So, if you guys want one of these cut, let me know. It's not too expensive. I can do this work pretty easy. It's not crazy hard, and puts a little bit of money in the BFP fund to go back into the channel. So, if you're looking for this, let me know. I will hook you guys up. There you go. Thank you for sending this project out. You know who you are. Your barrel is going to be on the way, and it looks better than it did when it came to me, and you're ready to put something cool on the end, whatever that is. So, I think he mentioned he was going to put a compensator on the end. So, anyways, there you go. Hope you guys like this. Like, share, and subscribe. You know, you don't need to do... Just watch it. Watch the stuff. That's all we care about, you know. Enjoy what we got going on here. If you want to see more this type of work, let me know. Leave a comment that this is what you want to see. This type of stuff. Lathe. I mean, you guys are into building, so I assume this is sort of what you want. But let me know in the comments. I read them all as they come in. So you know who you are. Your barrel's on the way. Hope you're going to enjoy it. All right, I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.